Hey, HannahMouse1 here. Welcome to another devlog for A Farmer's Life, the farming game that I'm making in Scratch. In this video, I'll be polishing off everything that I've added so far this update to prepare for the next release of the game, which does mean that I'll be jumping around a bit this episode as there are a lot of little things I need to do, starting with creating a friendship tab for the completion log to record what NPCs you've unlocked and what level of friendship that you've acquired with them. I made an icon of the head of each NPC, which I took from their icons on the request board, erasing their bodies and any extra features like Gitano's wheelchair. For the NPCs that become unlocked when a certain building is built, like Bridget or Felix, I had to make a blacked out version of the icons as well, in the same style as the locked items on the other completion log tabs. There was some other UI that I needed to put together. The first was an icon to click onto the friendship tab, which I designed to look like a little heart, and then I needed a mouse over label in the largest font for the friendship tab itself, then a label in the medium font for each of the NPCs' names, of which there are 9 by the way, and finally I made some UI to indicate what level of friendship you're at with each NPC, which is indicated by how many of a set of 5 hearts are lit up. I made it so that everything for the friendship tab shows correctly, with the 9 NPC head icons appearing with any unknown NPCs being blacked out. If you mouse over a known NPC, it displays the NPC's name and the correct number of lit hearts based on the friendship level you've reached with the NPC. Else, instead of the NPC's name, it displays 3 question marks and obviously no hearts are displayed. With that done, I jumped over to a system that I haven't updated in a while and added 2 new tasks to the task system. The first of these is wheeling and dealing, which requires you to complete 10 requests at the shipping depot, and the second is Master Chef, which requires you to complete an entire recipe collection in the restaurant. For each of these, I needed to create the UI to display on the tasks list, which displays the task title, a short description of the task, and the monetary reward for completing the task. I got all of the code behind unlocking the tasks, which occurs when the previous task for each of these, something fishy for wheeling and dealing for Master Chef, is completed, and also did of course add the code behind fulfilling the task. I also had to make it so that the task automatically logs as complete if you fulfill the requirements behind them when the task is unlocked. So if you've already filled 10 tasks at the depot before catching your first fish, or if you've already completed a recipe collection before filling in 10 tasks. Another system that I haven't updated lately is the achievement system. So I made 2 more achievements related to the new systems that I've added. There's Top Trader, which unlocks when you've completed 1 trade for bronze, 10 for silver and 100 for gold. And there's Cooking Complete, which unlocks if you've cooked 1, 25 or 75 recipes respectively for bronze, silver and gold. I created the UI for the achievement complete pop-up, as well as UI to display what you did to get the achievement and the mouse over name label for each achievement. And I coded it in so that these achievements exist in the achievement list, appear on the achievement page on the log, and unlock when you complete the requisite trades and recipes by adding in the variables to count these 2 values, which update whenever you complete a trade or cook a new recipe. You may remember from the last devlog that some of the recipe collection rewards increase the value of items such as tier 1 or tier 2 crops, animal products, etc. But I'd forgotten to increase this value when the reward value for trades in the shipping depot is calculated, so I hereby modified the code to accommodate for these value improvements. And I then went through the completion log to make sure that the maximum value on the completion bar is correct to accommodate for all of the new items, achievements and friendships, and I coded it so that the completion value increases whenever you level up in friendship with an NPC. One thing I always hate doing is updating the save system. It's always so hard to wrap my noggin around what values are new and that I need to save, what lists I need to save, and to add these to the code, and then to reverse engineer it so that the load code can update these values or set them to basic default values if you're loading a save from an earlier build of the game. It's a slog and requires a decent bit of mental gymnastics, but I managed to muscle through it. I noticed a few errors on the completion log's good page. I hadn't added in the rice noodle item that I made last devlog, and the sources were displaying the wrong icon, so I fixed both of these little bugs, creating the blacked out icon for the noodles and making a few tweaks to the code. I also had to update the max completion value to include the rice noodles, as I forgot to count this earlier, as I was basing my count off of the number of logbook icons. I also went through and made tutorial pages for the trading and cooking systems for the how-to page. This always takes absolutely forever because I'm using a custom font, so it's not like I can just type it in or anything. I needed to copy it in letter by letter. It's a slog, and to be honest, I don't even love the end result. It's the textbook definition of a text dump tutorial, but I just really don't have any other ideas of how to teach the player the mechanics. I do think that most of the stuff is self-explanatory, so I hope that these pages are just to clear up a little bit of confusion rather than being some sort of crutch for the player. Like, I don't expect them to use this too much, so I think it's okay. There were also some systems that I felt were missing from the tutorial pages, as they were. This included the request board system, mining, upgrading tools, performing research, or building new buildings. So I went through and made new pages for each of these. As to why I hadn't done it earlier, well, for some of the systems, they're a lot more simple when I first added them, and it's only more recent overhauls that made them complex enough to need a tutorial. And for others, let's be honest, I mean, I just said I hate making these pages, right? If I was a bit 50-50 on whether I needed to make a tutorial for a system, I I'd take the cop-out option. But some of these systems in hindsight are more complex than I think I gave them credit for, so I changed my mind on the matter, knuckled down and made the pages. And I made UI that displays the page number for all of these new pages, of which I wound up adding 9 in total. I made it so that you can cycle through these. Another small thing, I decided I wanted there to be some UI to display what friendship level you need to unlock the locked recipes in the kitchen. For this I made UI that says you need X hearts with for the values 1 through 5, as these are the 5 possible friendship levels, and it also tells the player that they can check this level in the completion log, as it's not like this is a prominent thing that the player is always able to see, and I don't want them to miss it altogether, like what does this mean when they see the recipe unlock prompt. And I copied over all of the NPC's names from the mouse over name labels that I made for the completion log, and I coded it to get the UI to show. Once I had that displaying, I needed to shift the check your level line slightly to avoid it clashing with the back button, and I shifted the back button over slightly to make room for the NPC names, which I think looks a lot better because it lines up with the edge of the border around the edge of the screen now. And to get it to display the correct level, I needed to make a list that indicates the unlock level for each of the recipes, from which the UI can pull which costume to switch to. I updated the project's thumbnail so that it gives the correct version and title for the new update, V5, the culinary update, and from there I just had to do a lot of playtesting and bug fixing, starting with the new systems that I've added since the last public build. It was a lot of little disjointed things really, a bit of UI not displaying correctly here, a research option not unlocking there, and just going through and fixing them. The process of patching the holes in my game's code is something that I'll be working on until the next release of the game, which will hopefully be before the next video in this series. I say hopefully, the game's released by a certain date is certainly something I've promised before and fallen through on, so I'm not guaranteeing anything, but there's no reason that I shouldn't be able to get it done. One pretty glaring thing that I missed doing was adding in sound effects, mostly because I tend to work on this project with the tab muted while listening to podcasts or whatever, but it's a very important part of the game to have just missed. I had to add in some beeps and boops for the shipping depot to emulate computer sounds. The restaurant, I used the same clicks that I used on pretty much every other page for when you mouse over or click the buttons, as well as a little jingle for when you complete a recipe, and I had to add a click for when you mouse over the icons in the friendship tab to match the icons on other completion log tabs. I also did some longer playtests from the start of the game to find smaller bugs that have until now slipped through the net. This let me sort some issues with pacing and also gave me the chance to test things like the save load functionality. Again, this is something I'll be working on up through to the game's release, squashing bugs as they crop up. And apart from that, that's all I've got to show you this week, so thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe if you did, it lets me know there's something to see more of. Join the Discord, link down below, and I'll see you next week with another video. Bye!